Canadian. Man, this Canadian whiskey got me sweating like a whore. Hey, this part 2 right here, man. We're gonna send the thing out. Now, Will and Alicia's supposed to be on the next one, man. It's gonna get real interesting, like we always do. Y'all already know what it is, you know. Let me send this code out. I don't know if Mika gonna pop in or not, but Will and Alicia said they're gonna pop in, and we're gonna send the code out right now. So we'll see. Very interesting conversation about self-hatred and Black people. So let's see how this goes. Okay, Ed, welcome back. I ain't get a chance to ask you. Huh?
Hmm?
What you say?
Hmm?
I'm listening to you.
No, Chloe was barking because my daughter was laughing upstairs.
Oh, right on. But look. I feel like, you know, we was talking about the military. We left off talking about the military. And
Job Corps.
And Job Corps. Okay, now, like I said, Job Corps been gone probably since we was in high school, or maybe shortly thereafter. But the thing was, for me...
Then also, guess what else is gone?
What's that?
Washburn Trade School.
I never even heard of that.
What's that?
What was that?
Washburn Trade School was the shit.
Okay.
A lot of people who making damn near 6 figures and shit now didn't go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Washburn for something or another: culinary, welding, plumbing, AC, whatever, the HVAC shit. You know what I'm saying?
HVAC, yeah.
Nursing, all type of shit. Shit that will bring you up to at least middle class, right?
Okay.
All that shit gone. So between the different, now that's some differences between us and these people that we're talking about right now. Those are two good options that a lot of people I know my age took advantage of because it was there and it was free. Now, speed up, 2 of those options gone, and most of the trade schools you got to pay for. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people can't pay for school because they can't, because they ain't learned enough. Because all of this shit requires certification exams, because otherwise you can be sued for fucking over a dummy. They want you to be smart enough to know that I need to sign these papers for these loans. Otherwise, if you're too stupid to do that, they just taking your money, and which is why they trying to do a lot of this reversal of student loans right now.
All right, so I don't agree with the way that that essentially children, young adults, whatever you want to call them, can get into mountains of debt. And well, first, I have a whole thing about doggone paying for college anyway, but that's a very different subject. My point is, when it comes to trade schools have always been way cheaper than other schools. So the other thing about that is that people find money for whatever they actually want. So if you want money for Hennessy, or if you want Hennessy, you find money for that. If you want money for these hoes, you're gonna find money to get up on these hoes.
That's right.
Hennessy and hoes a lot fucking cheaper than an education.
Well,
no. One night of girls in Hennessy is cheaper. But when you're talking about, come on, we're talking about being 19. 19-year-olds club every dog. Well, not every night, but Thursday through Sunday are clubbing nights for 19-year-olds. That's a weekly thing. That's what they
First
did.
of all, what fucking 19-year-olds is going to clubs? Is that some new shit?
They be balling like a mug.
Okay. So we don't have to say clubs. So what? Going out to your girl's house, your friend's house, whatever the case may be. These kids are still out here spending money.
Yep.
They spend a whole bunch of money. They still spending money on their clothes. They still spending money on their shoes. They still spending money. They still getting drinks. They can't go to the clubs. Okay, so the drinks are gonna be cheaper. As they get older, that just progresses into them going.
Let me ask y'all an honest fucking question.
Yes.
Why the fuck are y'all expecting people that ain't y'all age to think like y'all age? And I mean, come on now. Not everybody is at the same fucking level, especially if all they see people doing this shit.
I don't expect people to think this is what I expect. I expect if you are a child and you grew up in the fucked up situation, you know what, better yet, Actually, I expect any child, because I expect my children who didn't grow up in a fucked situation. If you are a child, I want to know, what do you plan to do with your life? And I want you to walk me through that. My girls are 9 and 12 right now. And I want you to walk me through this from a 9-year-old perspective, from a 12-year-old perspective. And I'm going to let you know, okay, cool, this is cool, this is cool. Guess what? You're about to go to 8th grade. Guess how much your 8th grade year affects what's going to happen in college. College is a long way from now. It's really not, and I'm gonna show you why. That's what I'm expecting. You don't have to know what I know. I just need to know that you have you could tell me, I want to shine shoes. Okay, cool. At least I know you thought of something. But if you can't do nothing, you ain't bringing nothing to this, then things are severely fucked up. This is worse than I thought it was. Like, at least come with some bad ideas. Like, you can tell me, I want to sell drugs I want to control drugs from Roosevelt all the way to State Street. Okay, cool. Well, that don't make no sense. But you know what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
I want to control drugs all on the south side or the west side. Okay, cool. How you gonna do that? Okay, first I'm gonna start selling M&Ms. Well, that don't make no sense. But let's work through this, and then I'm gonna tell you a little something to help you out. But they don't start with nothing. These niggas don't know nothing.
They don't want to plan. And see, that's the thing, is that it's not so much as them thinking like how we think now at this age.
What the fuck is Ebony eating, man? I'm
teenagers just like you were at some point in time.
But I forgot my camera was
over there killing
that shit up.
I swear to God, I don't know. I didn't roll my eyes about 4 or 5 times. Fuck y'all.
See, but you know what? That's all I'm saying is that when we were, I believe. Well, I'm not gonna speak for John, but just judging from what John said, I believe this is what went with him. At some point during those years, you had some sort of plan together. That's all we're saying. You had some sort of plan. See, these kids, the difference is these kids are fucking lazy. They don't have no type of plan or nothing. They just want to just be. Okay, but that's not the real.
When was the first day you realized that you had a plan?
It was always something.
I went to Jim Army since 3rd grade.
Why?
I mean, because it was like it was stuff that you.
But I'm saying, my thing is you had to see something to make you want to have a plan.
I saw that.
Okay. Can I pinpoint what I saw? I mean, okay, I can't even really fully attribute it to the West Side alone. It was just what I thought about me as a kid. And I said, well, I want to do this. I want to do something. So we did. Okay, if you want to go into things that we saw, we went on college tours. Okay, when we played basketball, we went to different towns. Same with baseball. We went to different schools. We got exposure to shit other places. You know, I remember before I went to high school, we visited my family up in Connecticut. So that was more exposure just to different things other than what's in front of you. You know, and I was always into baseball. I was always into music and stuff like that. So it was just like, okay, you know, yeah, we gonna do college. All of my friends, most of them, they was talking like that because it was just, that's what we wanted to do. Okay. So then you get to college and you figure out, hey, you got to pay for this. You can only get financial aid or you're going to take out a loan. Okay. If you can't get financial aid, then how you going to pay for school? Okay. Well, shit, the military. All right. Well, I can go to the military and I can get my school paid for. I get the GI Bill and then I can go back to school. So I went, I got more exposure to the world, different people, some different customs, different languages. You know, I'm a young kid. I'm probably like what? I was 20 when I signed a contract. I was 21 by the time I went to Hawaii. I was legal. Niggas was back here doing nothing. You know, because I never really hung out with a bunch of like shitbirds. It was just guys that was good guys, and most of which had some sort of idea as to what they wanted to do with their life.
Listen, I'm gonna say it. Listen, I will concede that you made great choices. All right.
I would disagree.
No, but let me finish. I concede you made great choices, right? Because somewhere along the line you realized maybe because this was not something that you was maybe because of how you were brought up. Did your dad work?
Yeah, worked 2 jobs all through.
Okay. So you grew up with an archetype that a man is supposed to work and provide, right?
I grew up with an archetype that a woman is supposed to work and provide. Because my
Okay,
mom was working too.
Okay, right? Do you realize that it was a lot of kids, even in our grades and stuff, if their daddy wasn't there, half of the time he wasn't working, or he was doing what he had to do to take care of his family, whatever the fuck that was, right? Mama ain't doing shit. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe mama working and he ain't doing shit, right? So seeing that from little on up, it kind of sets those wheels in motion. Now, this is not excusing anybody's choices once they realize the difference between right and wrong. Right. But you normalize shit, and then it's like it's almost a mental trap to where you set yourself up to repeat that cycle.
But those kids who saw that, do they have the capacity to understand whether or not they want to live in that, or they want to live in something different?
Right.
Some kids don't realize that. I mean, I don't care what the fuck you see on TV, because at some point you realize that shit ain't real.
I'm not talking about TV. I'm talking about.
Hold on. What I'm saying is there are some kids who has never seen anything different than the shit that I'm talking about.
So all they do is
then they go to school.
Okay.
Motherfucking teachers either they care and it's too many fucking students that don't give a fuck. So you can't give the attention to teach. That's a deficit right there. Choice of the kids, right? I get it, but you have to understand a lot of these kids they dealing with shit. They dealing with shit that you could not think of because of the house that you came from.
Okay,
right. But my question is still,
beat on. Some of these kids getting touched. Some of these kids watching their mamas and daddies nod all fucking day, ain't talking to them, ain't interacting with them, ain't putting in them what was put in you.
But the question still is the same. Do those kids tell themselves, when I grow up, I want to continue this, or I want to make it better?
Right. That's what it comes to.
I'm pretty sure kids say, I want this shit to be better. But how do they know how they might not be able to process how to do it?
Okay, that's my point. That's my point. Not knowing how to do it. Hey, what's going on, Alicia?
What's
not
up?
Not knowing how to do
God
it.
Damn it, Alicia. God damn it, Alicia. God damn it, Alicia.
Uh-oh. What she do? What she do?
You left me in here with these two this whole day.
I'm sorry. I've been beefing with T-Mobile about my son's phone, and I'm ready to fight them. So I guess I'll jump on and fight these two on video.
Why we gotta go to fisticuffs? Why can't we have a conversation?
I mean, because apparently that's
what two you talking
coming
about?
Here on that light skin shit.
Right.
That part.
These two.
Johnny, don't talk, because we ain't seen your hair this week, so don't be so quick.
Yeah.
Did you do?
John, what was you saying?
I don't know what I was saying. I forgot.
Okay, Alicia. Let me ask Alicia. Okay, because we going into a whole nother bag. The topic tonight was about self-hatred, and we got to talking about a lot of things. Now, we was just before you came on, we was just talking about basically the household, and Ed was just explaining like, okay, well, and I'm not saying this verbatim, but some parents may be some kids' parents may be on drugs, some parents may or not be there. And what myself and John are saying is that, well, actually John said, and I agree with it, is that, the parents are one thing, but at the end of the day, you as a kid, you're going to look at that and say, hey, do I want to do what they're doing, or do I want to do better? Okay. So I guess my question to you would be, is that at the end of the day, wouldn't it still come to you regardless of the house that you came from? Because none of us came from perfect parents. None of us came from a perfect upbringing. Everybody has something they were dealing with. We all got an issue somewhere along the lines. Some may be more worse than others, depending on who you ask. But ultimately, does it not still come down to you as the individual to decide what direction that you want your life to go in?
I mean, I think that's a catch-22 kind of question, because you're talking about like what, like if I consider something normal, if it's normal to me and I see everybody around me doing it, I might not be so easy to say, damn, I might need to change that. Where you have people that may not have even thought they needed to change it. Let's say, people that didn't have money to go to school, like, and I'm not gonna say that any of us joined the military because of that reason, but you had a lot of people join the military because they didn't have any other, like they really weren't interested in going to school or could not afford school,
Right.
or they really didn't know what they wanted to do. So the army was an option, right? So when you go to the army, then it kind of broadened your horizons, right? So you were able to see a lot of things, and some things that you may even thought were normal at the time, you were like, well, damn, that ain't, everybody don't do that, or that's not the norm, or man, that's kind of weird as hell now that I see it from a broader lens. So when you're looking at something from a smaller scope, a smaller lens, and it's normal and everybody else is doing it, it may not seem like you need to change, or it may not seem so um so weird, or so like dysfunctional. You know what I'm saying? Like I had girlfriends, like growing up, my mother was really strict. Right. When I say strict, I'm talking about I was in high school and I couldn't have phone calls from boys. But my brothers who were in grammar school, they could have girlfriends. The shit, shit was weird. But that's just how it was, right? And so, and I didn't talk back to my mother. Like, I'm 47 years old now. And if my mother say, like, we joke or whatever, but if she tell me to shut up, I'm shutting up. Like, no question.
Right.
No question. If she tell me something to do, and I know she's serious, but even my grandmother, like when they say do something, I still move, and they don't have to repeat themselves twice, right? But I've had girlfriends where I see they talking kiki with their mothers like they're contemporaries, and it's always been like that. I've had girlfriends that curse and stuff. Like I remember how you talked about how you cussed in front of your mom that one time, and you right. And so when I cuss in front of my mother on accident, excuse me, ma, I don't. That's not a normal language that I have around my mother or my grandmother. And I'm grown, and I'm good and grown. Like, I'm damn near 50 years old. Those are not things that I do. I have girlfriends that cuss in front of their mom and grandmama, their grandmothers. I know women personally that grandmothers talk like they on the nine, right? That's unusual to me because they don't move like that. My grandparents, my mother they've never been anything more than they've always behaved as ladies. They've always had a different standard. I don't even want to say ladies, because I don't want to imply that those people were not ladies, but the way that I was raised, the standards was the standards. And so when you meet other people, those aren't the same standards. So I've had girlfriends come over here and they meet my mom, my grandmother, and they be like, man, now I understand why you behave like that. And they don't, what's with me and my mom, why don't you just tell your mom? I'm I'm not telling my mama shit. Like, at the end of the day, you go tell her. You want to smoke, you go over there and talk to her. Because I know what I'm dealing with. But because they're accustomed to talking to their mother or their grandparents or elders in a certain way, I still say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Like, still now, I still do that.
But don't you agree that you still have to accept that? It's not even, I think
I don't think you have to accept it, because if it's part of like that's saying that if yes ma'am and no ma'am, that's how I was raised, right? Mm-hmm. Even now, like if I meet my mom or my grandmother, they introduce me to their friends, it's Miss so and so, Mr. so and so, and they'll say, well, she's grown, she can call me. No, I can't. It's Miss so and so, and that might be weird to some people that are my age, because that's not how they were raised. So it's not accepting that as being normal. That's what was bred into me, right? Yes, ma'am, no ma'am was bred into me. When I talk to somebody that I know is my elder, even when I'm working with them, even if I'm their supervisor, and Ebony can attest to that, Miss such and such, Mr. such and such. I never address an elder by their first name. I always, as old people say, put a hand.
Think about how when she greets my mother. Hey, Miss Martha.
Yeah, always. My children, even when we're talking about like even with my older cousins, I never call my older cousins just by their name. I don't say hey cousin, hey cousin Tarita. I don't say hey Tarita. It's right. Cousin Tarita. It's cousin so and so. It's right. Aunt so and so. Like, it's always been a handle, but that's the way I was raised. So when you talk about people and what's normal, like, I didn't necessarily accept that I needed to do that, but that was a requirement. That was a requirement of me early on. So that's something that was bred into me. And even now, I find it hard. Like, I'm not around my mother in Alabama. I'm never around her. But even now, it's been bred into me so thick that I can't help myself. Like, it feels wrong. It feels so wrong to me on so many different levels to call an elder just by their first name. So when you talk about like even like the drinking and the partying and the stuff the kids see, those things can really be bred into them, and they can make a choice and say that I don't want to do that, and they can really do that. But when you talk about the breeding and what's intertwined into what's normal to you, then you have all these other little nuances that are in people's homes and in people's everyday dealing with other people. Like you see some people that the way they deal with other people is through hostility and violence, right? You'll see people, they get cussed out, they start cussing, and you see it all the time. Mother be in the store or father, somebody grown be in the store, and they get told, I can't see you, can't have this, and they get to acting a plum ass fool.
Mhm.
Well, no, more times than not, if they have children with them, these children see this shit all day, every day, right? So it's not a child is not making who the hell was that? They're not making a conscious
I'm
decision.
sorry. I was admiring my tattoo.
Oh, okay.
And I was
They're
telling
not
them,
making.
I said, I'm looking at it on the camera. This damn thing still look good.
It does. It does. They don't make a conscious decision to just become wild and go off on people, but that's something normal to them. And so what they see in that is that every time I act a fool, or every time they act a fool, they get what they want. Or every time they act a fool, people rush to get them out of there. Or hell, they just act a fool all the time. And so that's normal. They act a fool in the house, they act a fool at the store, they act a fool at the school, they act a fool. So now you have these children watching you act a fool all day. Children are not choosing to act a fool, but that's just what's normal. And that's regular behavior. And that's how you get your needs met. So I'm going to act a fool. And unfortunately, that, and I don't, well, we're talking about ourselves. We're talking about self-hate. Unfortunately for us, when we do that, we play into a stereotype. Unfortunately, we play into a big ass stereotype, and I'm talking about healthcare. I've seen people in healthcare. Me and Ebony worked at the same place 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. We used to see people coming in. When I say act a fucking fool for no reason, act a fool, but would call the people behind the desk bitches. I would talk to the doctors, talking about how they gonna whoop the nurses' ass, and we'd be all back there like, we're not seeing this person. No, we're not seeing it. Administration would come down. Not only would try to make the doctor see the patient, but they would give them McDonald's coupons. They would give them all kinds of shit, right? So you're reinforcing bad behavior. But now when you reinforce that bad behavior, that means that every time they walk into some place like that, they're going to exhibit that same behavior. Now, when you have children with you, just think now, you done went up here and acted a whole fool, and you were wrong as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example is I was in the office for something for my kids. And this woman came in there, I mean, doing the most. Why the fuck I'm getting these letters saying my kids owed $3 for lunch? And they was like, well, ma'am, hold on a second. I ain't waiting shit. I want to know why I got to pay $3, y'all. Just wait.
Hey.
Her kids in the office with her. Two
Eat
kids.
$3.
So
it will.
She acting a fucking fool, y'all. I'm talking about just cutting the food. And the lady was like, well, ma'am, did you fill out a lunch form? Yeah, I did. I did that motherfucker last year. And the lady said, well, you know you have to do them every year.
Then what she say?
What the fuck could she say? I mean, but my thing is her daughters is watching her. And even though they was embarrassed and they know that they shouldn't probably do that, that's what they're going to probably do to get their way.
Hopefully not. I mean, because they do have a choice in that, even though it is normal in the house.
Choice.
Okay, it's just like
at some point you have to realize that some of these kids do not understand that you're not supposed to have instant results.
They spoil.
You're not supposed to earn anything. Is it entitlement? It could be. But it's also a learned behavior. It's also a learned behavior. Spoiled little kids exhibit the same behavior, doing certain things to get what they want.
Why should I give a fuck about what these kids did or didn't have in society? I don't give a goddamn about your personal shit.
Right on. Shit.
Whatever you did. Wait, hold on for a second. R. Kelly got touched and raped and all the rest of that shit. Nobody gave a fuck about him.
They sure don't. They ain't got no sympathy.
Who gives a fuck about what happened in this household? You are accountable for your actions. At the end of the day, what you do will get you in trouble, or you will save yourself. If not, shut up, deal with it, kill yourself.
And
or
my
kill
thing
other
is I'm not excusing the way that there should be consequences to the shit that you do.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to give anybody a pass for something that they did, knowing what the consequences could be. What I'm saying is there is a reason why these motherfuckers do it anyway.
because they ain't shit.
Okay, but then check this
Right.
out. Check this out. How come? This how you know. Now look at it this way. When niggas shoot out here, right? Niggas will go and shoot up some shit, and they instinct tell them to run and hide. You're not gonna run and hide behind some shit that you did that was correct. That was
Or if you didn't know you was doing wrong,
right.
you was standing there.
Right. You would have stood
Right, you was
there
standing there. Yes.
and waited for the cops to come to lock you
Like I didn't know what I did.
Right. Now
I'm confused.
right, that's the mental health card right there. Now
No, okay. Y'all, okay. The little motherfuckers know that what they do is wrong. I'm not taking that away. What I'm saying is what the fuck happened in their lives that made them come to that decision that was the better fucking choice?
I don't care.
You should.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear shit these
John,
little
like,
niggas
you
gotta
don't give
say.
Too.
I mean, really, because the real world don't give a fuck. I mean, honestly, when you get outside the house, the only people that's gonna care is whoever the guardians are, mother, father, grandmother, whoever the fuck. And half of them don't even fucking care.
My question is, my statement is, what about those people that was raised in those type of environments and changed their life? Why they can't be example already that's exhibited in the hood for them to know that's wrong?
Because it ain't seen often enough.
Yes, it is.
It's not seen often enough, or it's considered lame because some people don't feel that that's something that they can achieve.
There we go. Okay, so you're right. It's seen all the time. It's just seen as lame. Like even going to Austin, Austin was full of bullshit niggas, but at the same time, Austin had way more regular people than gangbangs.
That's correct.
So do most schools.
I know. So it's seen. They know it. They see it. They just choose and be like, nah, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, they choose to do it.
They choose to do this fucking shit. The motherfuckers, they because it's cool and all this, for around the niggas that they run with, it's acceptable, it's all good, and all this other shit. So they don't have a problem coming blowing somebody's head off, some old lady, some granddaddy, walking his dog, minding his business. They don't have a problem with that because I want to be cool. I want to be accepted. That's bullshit. I can't excuse them, and I'm not saying that you are, Em, but I can't fuck with that because that's who we got to worry about. They're not going to nobody else's neighborhood. They're going right there in your neighborhood.
Nobody can fuck with that. Let me get that clear. I don't want the shit happening to me because I'm not gonna be like, well, I understand why you have a fucking gun in my face. I'm not gonna be like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want y'all to think that's what the fuck is going on. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Like,
all right. I feel so much better now, Ebony.
you know, the chill mommy drink, you know, I'm not gonna do that shit. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and try to analyze my way out of some shit. It's fight or flight. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Because these niggas, regardless of the reason, whether it's just or unjust,
these niggas are niggas.
They for real niggas. They don't give a fuck. They like back in the day.
I believe they do understand what they doing is wrong, but it's embarrassing to stop and then allow people to let people know you've been doing some dumb shit. That's embarrassing.
And that is
That's
a fucking
embarrassing.
listen. That right there is a fucking sign of self-hate. That you don't think you worthy of making a better choice for yourself.
You think that's self-hate?
I don't think that's self-hate.
Yes.
I don't think that's self-hate.
It gotta be fucking self-hate.
That's like not tying your shoes and you tripped over them. You like, oh shit. And I should have tied my shoes earlier, but I'm moving too fast. That's embarrassing. You fall in front of motherfuckers.
Ebony, how you think that's self-hate? Explain that one.
I don't think right. Yeah.
I need that one.
How can it not be? How low of yourself do you have to think that what you making that what you're doing is gonna have a fucking good outcome for you.
Well, see,
And
the
a
thing
lot
is,
of people think that they're the exception to rules. Like a lot of people think, that's what a lot of people in the drug game. Like after, I don't know what, drugs got really bad in the 80s, but let's just say I think by the 90s,
Late
I
80s,
think
90s,
everybody
when we
knew.
was in school, it was bad.
Yeah, but I think by the 90s, everybody knew, hey, you will get smooth fucked up in this drug game by the 90s. Maybe the
Right.
80s they probably
Drugs
didn't know
was
because
cheap
it was
back
real new.
then. That's
But
what
yeah, by
fucked
the
up
90s, but
everything.
people still in the drug game now in like 90s, 2000s, 2010s, now people still getting it because they think, man, I'm either gonna be the king or I'm gonna do some shit that they didn't think of, or some stupid shit like, well, at least I got to wear the crown for a little bit. I wasn't gonna live past 25 no way, so fuck it.
And that's not self-hate. That's
now
not
that
self-hate.
No,
is
that's quitting.
I don't know what
That-
that's
okay,
called.
that's
I don't know
called
what that's
quitting.
called.
Okay, what is
I give
quitting?
up.
What is quitting? Giving up on yourself because what? You don't think you worth it. That's
think it's-
fucking self-hate.
I think
It
it's
ain't like, I hope y'all don't think that's when you say self-hate, it's like, I hate me. No, it's I hate me. I don't think I'm worth making them fucking choices. I don't think I'm worth putting the fucking effort in.
no.
I don't
do
think
the
they
right
worth
thing.
putting the effort in.
Lazy to put the effort in. They
now
too
I don't
would
lazy.
think they
give
worth
Eb
putting
a
the
I
little
think
effort
it's
in.
I think it's
I
a
would give
thing
Eb
of,
a little bit on that. I could see a small amount doing it, but I don't see a lot of them doing it. They just don't care.
right. They
I
care
think it's
less.
fly. I don't care.
Anybody that don't put the effort in themselves, that's a form of fucking self-hate.
If they even know what
I think
it
it's a
even
form of-
means.
I think it's a form of laziness.
Right.
I think lazy.
Same reason why-
Laziness makes more sense.
No, 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 no,
totally
no, no.
agree. It's
No.
lazy.
It's pure
Lack of
laziness.
effort. Any form of lack of effort, which is laziness, I guess, is
That's lazy.
self-hate.
I disagree. So that means that
Uh,
okay. Here's a good example.
When I just said what you said.
No, you
I
didn't.
just repeated it. I said it, then you said it, then I said it again.
No, but you're saying it's
We
self-hate.
saying the
I'm not
same
agreeing with the
thing.
I'm not
self-hate
saying
part.
it's self-hate. I'm saying it's just laziness. Just because you lazy don't mean that you hate
Do you
yourself.
think lazy people like themselves? Like, honestly,
think
do
lazy
you think a
motherfuckers
lazy
is
person
just-
like themselves?
No, it's
Yeah.
a totally different thing. They're just lazy. They could be arrogant.
It's
The
like a
motherfuckers-
procrastinator.
Okay,
They
look
don't.
like
A
this.
lazy person like themselves.
Yes, and I'm explaining to
You
you
know
how.
what? You
I'll
know what?
explain to you
I
how.
could see if it's in all things. If a
Arrogance,
person is
honestly,
just
arrogance
lazy
is-
about all things, I could see that. But if they only lazy in a particular area, that's different.
Right. They just ain't got the push.
So they point out
Not
what they
motivated.
don't want to work at. It's like a motherfucker going to, like I know a lot of motherfuckers that don't work but take a bath every day, get up like they going to work. Do a whole of dumb
Like
shit.
that. Right.
And they love themselves, but they like, I'm not finna work.
Yeah.
I'm not finna
Right.
do that.
I call those people cousins.
Those my
I said,
cousins.
I said I call them cousins.
Yeah, they are my cousins.
I don't think that's the issue of self-hate. Self-hate is like, it's a whole nother, it's more extensive than that. I mean, it's just like what people always talk
It
about.
says an intense
In a
dislike
way,
of oneself.
y'all confusing depression with laziness.
I ain't
Laziness is
went that far into it.
laziness is it can be a symptom of depression, but just because
I agree there.
you care for
I
your
agree
outward
with that.
appearance,
I agree
just
with
because
that.
you care for your outward appearance, don't mean that you give a fuck what's going on here and here.
Well, that's why I say arrogant. It's because
Look at all
some
the fresh,
people,
look at it, what I like to call them, all these fresh dressed dummies.
yeah, they
Yeah,
dumb
it's
in
a
the
lot of them.
motherfucker.
They
They fresh.
take more care for what
See,
people
both of them
see on
look
the
nice
outside.
in his
And they
outfit.
put no effort on being something from the inside.
Right.
Does that
Even
make
Them-
sense?
them
Even
same
both of them
niggas.
look nice in his outfit.
He's
Him, Pennywise, Ronald McDonald, all them goddamn clowns to the T. For real.
But I
Makeup
think
ain't
it's just-
fucked up nothing.
I think it's just the kids. Okay, look, the generation that we in now is that they're not like, there's a difference between us when we were kids and these kids now. The kids now, they're being given everything. It's kids like I got a nephew that's, well, great nephew that's 5 years old, 6 years old, that has a fucking iPhone. These kids are spoiled beyond belief. And that's
Yeah,
got
but that's what the generation before us said about us. So I mean, you know, like that. I mean, that's just like saying the
that's
kids,
what I was
the
just
music
gonna
that the
say.
kids listen to. The music the kids listen to now we hate, but the NWA and the shit we listen to, our parents hated. So that's just a
That's true.
generational thing.
Okay.
Like we always and the reality of even that is that we all want to give our children something better and different than what we have. And most times we overextend what we're doing, but that's generational as well. So when you talk about that, like definitely I think that and I'm just jumping in on the conversation because you know my phone been acting up.
All right.
But the when you talk about somebody's outward appearance or somebody that may wash up but they don't want to work, you know, people don't want to work for a lot of reasons, but you have to consider the fact that anything that takes away from yourself, anything that does not meet your basic needs, like we're talking about basic needs like food, clothing, shelter, you know, just we ain't talking about, you know, the nicest cars and shit like that, but when you forego doing that, then there has to be some kind of self-loathing, but because at the very base of everything is self-preservation, right? So if you don't care about preserving yourself, there has to be some kind of loathing there because definitely you want to preserve you. I want to preserve me at any cost. So whatever I need to do in order to make sure that I have certain things, I ain't gonna say whatever, but you know, I ain't opposed to going to the Pink Monkey if I need to make sure that I got a roof under my head. So I think that, and I also want to point
I'm gonna
out,
call her
I
a
know.
sinner behind that tonight.
Right.
What?
Hey,
Right.
hey,
You're not
John.
gonna
Hey,
call her a
John.
sinner behind that.
She
John,
a
man, the
sinner.
business, John.
Okay,
Oh,
my
oh,
bad.
my
She a
bad. That went right
sinner.
over my head.
My bad.
John, I see
She
you being
said
the
it. She
chaos
said
agent
it so
tonight, John.
smooth.
You are a
I'm
He
sinner.
just,
She
I'm
did.
said
just,
it so smooth.
I'm just saying, but
That
I'm
went
just
right over
saying,
my head.
who are you to
Yeah.
point that out, John? Why are you
She
being
a
a chaos
sinner.
agent? I'm just
With
saying,
that one.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying, like you think about when you think about. I'm going, and I don't know if y'all, I know Kanar may or may not want to talk about, you know, sometimes he touch you, but you can't think that 400 years of trauma is not embedded in our DNA. Like 400 years of things that have happened to us. Like even when you think about like when we were so-called free, how they created those the unions to keep Black people from working. Because remember now when slavery was finally abolished, the only people that really knew how to work was us. We built everything, we cooked everything, we grew everything. So they made these unions to keep us from doing all that shit that we knew how to do, right? Or they put us on these what do they call this shit? Sharecropping. And how sharecropping like essentially made them slaves again because they could never get from under the debt that they owed. So you have all these things, and it doesn't mean that we as a people shouldn't strive, but when we talk about self-hate and so I mean I remember growing up and being called African booty scratcher was something to fight about. I remember growing up being called
So was and I so
black
did.
or big lip. You know, those were things I remember growing up and people telling me I was a pretty light-skinned girl with pretty hair. Like, and I remember my mother checking them every time. There's no such thing as pretty hair. There's no such thing as, you know, my mother always instilled in me that being light-skinned didn't make you better. Being having curly hair didn't mean you had better hair. My mother instilled that in me. But you like my grandmother, my great grandmother, man, my great grandmother was something all why she was a sweet lady, but she was something serious. And when you would bring dark-skinned people in her house, she would say in front of their face, why you bring that black ass nigga in my house? And my grandma wasn't light-skinned, right? She was not light-skinned, but she said that she favored the lighter-skinned grandchildren over the darker-skinned grandchildren. And it shows. So she favored my mother, she favored me, she favored my mother's children, and my grandmother did the same thing. But even to their extent, or to their I don't even say to their extent, but the reason they did that was because of the paper bag rule, and because when they were coming, like my great grandmother came from Alabama, Mobile, by way of Mississippi to Chicago. So you know, the lighter you were, the if you had colored eyes, if you had, you know, straighter hair or curlier hair, it wasn't so tightly coiled, you got better jobs, you were treated better, people handled you better. So in her mind, you didn't bring no black ass nigga. And if you brought somebody dark as hell up in that house that looked like they were black, oh, you was gonna get talked about, and they was gonna get talked about in a face
That's
because that was
exactly
something
right.
that you didn't do. That was
And
something that
here's
you did
something
not
else.
do.
And when
Here's
you
something else. Y'all know why they used to make Black folks take their hats off when they came in the house?
had to see what texture the hair was or some shit.
Yep. So who starts to think they better because they get to work around white folk? People who what? Got that hair versus the people who don't.
We still doing that today. But that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
but you know what?
Exactly.
That's okay. Look, it's gonna cut off. It's gonna cut off in like less than a minute. And I want to keep the whole ball rolling. But it's so much that we could say about this thing. But I, for one, am all about choice. And no matter what you have learned or what you grew up knowing, when you get to a certain point in your life, then you can decide whether to keep the ball rolling the way you learned it, or you can do your own thing.
But you make choice based off decisions, right?
But we got a whole lot of rebels. We got a whole lot.
But I'm saying, but you make a choice off of informed decisions, just like as a nurse. Like when I do anything for a patient, like let's talk about the COVID vaccine.